From the Athens Tech Studios, this is the Athens News Podcast. Local news you can use about Athens and Clarke County, all in 7 minutes. And now, here are your top stories.
Hello and welcome to the Athens News Podcast. I'm Melissa Carter. We'll talk to former baseball player Jason Jacobs, who is an owner of Cheeky Peach in downtown Athens. He is running for District 2 Commissioner and explains why he wants your vote. But first, here are your top stories brought to you by Drake Realty. The Athens-Clarke County Police Department has reported an officer firing his weapon after a suspect allegedly brandished a gun. The confrontation unfolded during a pursuit in the Bethel Homes neighborhood on Hickman Drive. According to authorities, the suspect attempted to evade officers but was later apprehended. Fortunately, no injuries were reported. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation will oversee the case while the involved officer has been put on administrative leave. This from Fox 5. Athens-Clarke County Police have apprehended a third suspect linked to the tragic drive-by shooting that claimed the life of a 3-year-old boy in March. 22-year-old Demontrez Mathis faces multiple charges, including malice murder and violation of the Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. The arrest follows a collaborative effort involving various law enforcement agencies spanning multiple jurisdictions. Mathis was captured in Augusta last Thursday. This arrest comes after 2 other suspects, Julio Cabillos and Jaden Brown, were taken into custody earlier on similar charges. However, one suspect, 18-year-old Dekias Eccles, remains at large. Authorities urge anyone with information on Eccles' whereabouts to come forward. This from 11 Alive. Governor Brian Kemp signed 2 bills into law addressing immigration and bail policies. The immigration bill, House Bill 1105, mandates jail officials to check the immigration status of inmates, aiming to enforce federal immigration law more rigorously. This move follows the tragic death of Laken Riley at the hands of an individual who unlawfully crossed into the United States. However, critics express concerns that this law may deter immigrants from reporting crimes. Meanwhile, Senate Bill 63 introduces cash bail for additional crimes, aiming to keep criminals detained. This from KRQE. Coming up, my interview with Jason Jacobs, also known as JJ Jacobs. He is running for District 2 Commissioner, and he'll tell you why, his background, and what his major issue is coming up next.
A new, exciting podcast about dads for dads. Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads. Download now wherever you get your podcasts.
It pays to know your doctor. It pays to know your lawyer. And now more than ever, it pays to know your local real estate professional. Hi, I'm Jeffrey Drake with Drake Realty, and we have 7 offices in the metro Atlanta area, including 2 right here in Cobb County and 1 at Lake Oconee. I'm the proud leader of over 700 agents here in Georgia, and we pride ourselves in professional service, whether you are the buyer or the seller. Drake Realty makes the home buying process seamless from contract to close. Our agents are a little different. They're not pushing for the quick sale and close. They are pushing for the best price and terms for their client. In other words, Drake Realty fights for you. Now's the time to buy that dream home, vacation home, or new home your family deserves. A lot of real estate agents talk big. Let my team at Drake Realty prove they will fight for you. I'm Jeffrey Drake, and I'd be honored to have my team serve you. Visit us online at drakerealty.com. And remember, it's not how quick you sell or buy, it's what the deal provides for your future.
I'm here with Jason Jacobs, JJ Jacobs, who is a candidate for District 2 Commissioner. How are you, sir?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing good. You also own the Cheeky Peach, so there's a lot of people who may know you better that way, but I appreciate you being a part of the podcast. And the more I see politics, and especially in this tense time, I'm always appreciative of the people that are actually going out there and trying it and doing it, because it seems like it would be a very stressful thing to campaign for the office. Do you find that to be the case, or is it more fun?
No, I do find that to be the case. And there's also fun aspects. I've been surprised by this process along the way, definitely. I thought I knew what I was getting into. I was told the things that I was getting into, but having experienced it, I agree with you. I have a much greater appreciation for people that throw their hat into the ring and try to make a difference in their community and all the things that you have to go through. I'm a busy person, as you mentioned, a business owner. My wife and I have owned and operated Cheeky Peach since it opened in 2010. I took a larger role in it in 2013. We have 3 kids. She's starting, because she is the entrepreneur of the couple, she is starting another business, podcast, always looking to do other things as well. There's something in its infancy, so we have our hands full, and adding this to the mix, has been eye-opening, fulfilling, exhausting, all the things that you can imagine at the same time. So it's been one heck of an experience.
One thing I want to say, I'll refer to you as JJ because that's how you're more familiarly known. But on the ballot, it will say Jason Jacobs. So I want to make sure that I say both because I don't want people who go to the ballot may be confused by these are not two different people. What's the difference in running a campaign? Because I would think that that's kind of an entrepreneurial thing. You're kind of starting this business of you being a politician. How is it different than when you open Cheeky Peach or when your wife has started this podcast?
You hit the nail on the head. It's actually quite similar. Having not been in this arena before, I didn't really know where to start. I had some folks reach out to me, honestly, that wanted to help with my campaign. And they kind of interviewed me. I mean, nobody knew who I was or what I was or what I thought. And in that process, I was able to talk to people that had reached out and they got to know me and we aligned on a lot of things. So it was go do this. Okay, first we got to start a website. Then we got to go get this and we got to do that. When the checklist of things came out, it was very similar to starting a business. It was essentially putting your storefront out there for people to find and trying to curate that description in such a way that best represented you. My wife helped tremendously with that as well, with her experience and background in journalism, her great ability to market as she has done for our business. So it was actually quite similar. I'd say, the biggest difference is in business, in our business, in particular, the retail business, you're really putting your product out there and it's a tangible product. Here, I'm kind of selling myself to everybody and trying to be as honest and upfront as possible. I've put my phone number out there in order to accomplish that. I've invited people to coffee. I'm trying to be as open a book as possible because I think that rather than listening to what others say about you, best practice to allow people to get to know you is to sit down in front of them, not necessarily on a keyboard, but actually sit in the presence of somebody else and let them get to know you and ask the hard questions and feel what you're saying versus read what you're saying. So that's been my approach to things, done a lot of door knocking, which has been, again, exhausting, but extremely fulfilling and extremely educational, getting to know other people, hearing what they have to say and their concerns for the community and their concerns about me. You get encouragement and there's some discouragement mixed in as well. But in either way, it's a great experience. And I've found it to be more fulfilling than anything.
Let's give the website that people can go to set up that coffee with you, because I've seen it and I thought that was really unique. The fact that you've opened yourself up and your calendar up, being a busy guy, to make sure that people can talk to you one-on-one. Yeah,
it's Jacobs for Athens. That's JACOBS for the word for Athens.com.
Now, I'm assuming, JJ, that there might have been a catalyst that made you make the decision to throw your hat in the race for commissioner. Was there something that happened that was the catalyst, or is it something you've been thinking about for a long time?
It was something that I rolled over for quite some time. My wife and I being business owners downtown, we've had our share of issues with the city. Now, we originally moved. We started the business. We were renting here in Athens, and when we were able to join the housing market, we found that our best option was actually in Oconee County. So we bought our first home out in Oconee County with always the intention to be in Athens. This is where we work. This is where we wanted to live. We lived in that home for 6 years. Built it when my wife was pregnant with our first son, had our second son while we were there. And the opportunity in 2019 arose for us to get back into Athens. And we found our dream home. This was that home that just spoke to us. So we moved back in. It's a mile from work, which is awesome. I all of a sudden had the ability to actually vote in the county and have a say in things. I had been involved with downtown and some of the issues surrounding that as our business is in downtown Athens. And I had spoken with commissioners about different concerns and things of that nature. But as we lived here, I became more involved and more aware of other issues going on. To me, it felt like a lot of the concerns that I had were kind of getting brushed to the side as though they weren't real concerns. And talking with neighbors that had similar such concerns, I felt like we weren't being heard. Hearing some of the kind of divisive rhetoric that was coming out of the commission, I felt like I'm one that's always kind of bridged the gap and gotten along with just about everybody. I have a certain skill set of logic and reason. My background is in math. That's what I got my degree in from University of Georgia. Played baseball competitively at University of Georgia and in the professional ranks as well. So I have that teamwork working towards a common goal kind of built in. I was a catcher, so I bridged the gap between the hitters on offense and pitchers on defense, which are kind of two different worlds. My problem solving ability as being a business owner and being able to look at the problems that you have in front of you, look into your toolbox, see what tools you have available to address those problems to the best of your ability, and forge ahead, maybe with not the ideal solution, but the best solution with the tools that you have. So that would really lend itself to the commission and trying to unify our town, really. And some of the inefficiencies and uses of resources, I felt like there wasn't a clear stated goal. And again, being very solutions based, I always thought we should have our focus on what does it look like after we've allocated these resources towards a problem? What kind of result do we want to see? Not just, oh, we're going to manage this a little bit better than we have in the past. Like, no, let's work towards building those infrastructures and having those systems in place that we can look at what's working and try and amplify that, and then look at what's not working about what we've tried and mitigate those things, maybe reallocate those resources to a more constructive strategy.
You know, JJ, I hear you, but you know what? It's a primary. I mean, why in the world should I vote on May 21st? Because, I mean, it's a presidential election, maybe, or presidential election year, rather. So maybe I should just wait to November to vote. So do you find it hard to get people to understand that primary elections are really important?
Well, this is actually the election for commission. There is no primary. The election's actually taking place on May 21st. Early voting is now through the 17th. So this will determine who holds that seat between myself and my opponent. I mean, it's the only chance you have if you're here in District 2 in Athens to make your voice heard. That's a big part of what I've been getting out and knocking on doors and letting people know. Early voting's on, so get out there and make your voice heard. And if you think you want a more practical, solutions-focused guy, less of an agenda other than raising my family in this town and wanting them to be able to raise their families in this town, leaving them a better place than when I got here, which I think is the goal of most anybody here in Athens, is making it a better place, then I think I'm your guy. I mean, if you're focused on outside issues and the rhetoric that my opponent puts out there, then maybe that's what you want. But I want people to be as informed as possible about the contrast in the two candidates and realize that I'm very solutions focused on some of the pressing issues that face Athens.
JJ, I really appreciate your time. It's going to be Jason Jacobs on the ballot. He's running for District 2 Commissioner. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Appreciate you having me.
Achieve more with Athens Tech. At Athens Technical College, their programs can connect you with in-demand and high-paying careers.
I graduated from Athens Tech in May and started my job 2 weeks later. I had the job before I left, thanks to my professor, and just focusing on growing a career.
As far as Athens Tech, I think I've been a member of the advisory panel for 10 years now, and it's been an awesome experience.
I'm currently going to Athens Tech. I started out as an accounting major. I've finished all my accounting classes and then switched over to the culinary and baking program.
My name is Alex Lang. I'm an electromechanical engineering student. This is my second year at Athens Tech, and I graduate in December. The long-term goal is to work for the railroad, whether that be Norfolk Southern or CSX.
Achieve more with Athens Tech. Find out more at athenstech.edu.
From Atlanta News First Facebook page, we told you just before a chase, an officer shot at a suspect blocks away from the University of Georgia on Friday. The incident happened when officers were on patrol at the 400 block of Hickman Drive in Bethel Homes. Well, Linda Pagetti said sad. Chris Cody said, can we get a description of the thug? Suspect? And Larry Peck said, OMG, less than a half a mile from campus. Who cares? This could have happened anywhere. Just more clickbait. Local media sucks. The University of Georgia has provided support to students through campus mental health resources following the unrelated deaths of students Wyatt Banks and Laken Riley within 24 hours of each other in late February. UJ offered various mental health services, including counseling and psychiatric sessions. Despite these resources, some students felt more could have been done to make students aware of these services. Mental health professionals emphasize the importance of seeking help when needed, as mental health issues can significantly impact an individual's life. For more information on mental health resources at UGA, visit their Counseling and Psychiatric Services website. And if you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, you can call or text 988 or visit the 988 Lifeline website for immediate assistance. This from the Red and Black. From the Red and Black and KRQE, Georgia's Kirby Smart agreed to a contract extension last week that makes him the highest paid coach in college football with an annual salary of $13 million. The Georgia baseball team added 28 new players to the roster with the transfer portal, and Georgia softball beat Mississippi State 5-0. And finally, the Iron Horse will disappear later this spring from the rural location where it has stood for more than 60 years. This steel sculpture of a horse has become a landmark for travelers along Georgia Highway 15 near the Oconee River in Greene County. But this much admired work of art created in the 1950s by a former UGA art professor will soon have its first ever major restoration done. Some work was done in 2015 due to rust around the base, but now the 12-foot statue will get a better touch. UGA, which now owns the sculpture, is working with Amy Abbey, a sculpture and artwork conservator in Athens. This from the Athens Banner Herald.
Thanks for listening to the Athens News Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.
This podcast aggregate content from other sources for informational purposes and is in no way trying to infringe on the copyrights or businesses of any other entities. All content posted up on the site is used under the Fair Use Copyright Law 107. All audio, media, and articles are copyrighted to the original owners. All audio on this podcast are embedded from YouTube.com and are owned by their respective copyright owners. No audio information are copyrighted or stored on our servers. The court ruled that linking or embedding copyrighted videos is not copyright infringement, even if the source video was uploaded without permission. However, we will gladly remove any audio clip upon valid request from respective copyright owners. Any owners also have the option to disable embedding his YouTube videos on other websites. News and press articles are owned by the respective copyright owners. Where possible, the appropriate accreditation or source of the article is given on the same page. The audio-video files on the site are for listening purposes only. Downloading of these files to one's computer is strictly prohibited. They are owned by the respective copyright owners. If it is in the organization's belief that the usage or specific content used on our site containing copyrighted knowledge conflicts with authorized use and or does not comply with fair use as described in the context, contact us through our contact page and we will remove the offending content immediately. Thanks for listening to the Athens News Podcast.